also new tariffs on all cars and trucks that are made outside of the U.S. They are now hit with a 25% tariff. Our Eye on Politics reporter Jack Fink spoke with the owner of 2 North Texas car dealerships about this.
The SUV millions trusted is now at the center of a scandal Toyota doesn't want you to know about. From sudden failures to shocking safety risks, the cracks are spreading fast, and loyal owners are realizing the brand they trusted may have betrayed them. What's really behind the headlines? Why are lawsuits piling up? And is your RAV4 next? Stay until the end, because the answer changes everything. Reliability myth exposed. You bought a Toyota RAV4 because it was supposed to be safe, reliable, bulletproof. That's the whole reason people pay more for this brand, so they never have to worry about recalls, sudden breakdowns, or being left stranded. But now, everything Toyota promised is being ripped apart, and what we're learning is worse than anybody thought. Drivers just like you are saying the same thing. I trusted Toyota, and they failed me. Corroded high-voltage cables that cost more than a used car to replace. Batteries so poorly secured they can spark and catch fire. Airbag sensors that might not even save your passenger in a crash. And what makes this sting even more? Toyota knew these problems weren't isolated. They were patterns showing up across thousands of RAV4s. Instead of protecting owners, they tried to downplay it. You work hard, you save your money, you buy the car that's supposed to protect your family, and then you find out the brand you trusted most is cutting corners, leaving you with dangerous defects and massive repair bills. That's not bad luck, that's betrayal. And here's the real kicker. The cracks in Toyota's reputation aren't just about numbers on a survey. They're about hidden dangers buried inside your car that Toyota hoped you would never notice until it was too late. And the first hidden danger? A single corroded cable that has already bankrupted families. The cable trap. One tiny cable is draining families dry. Buried under the RAV4 Hybrid and RAV4 Prime sits a high-voltage connector that should quietly power the rear wheels. Instead, it's turning into a financial death sentence. Drivers are discovering that this connector is a magnet for moisture, dirt, and salt. Over time, it corrodes, rusts, and slowly eats away at the very heart of the hybrid system. When it fails, the warning lights explode across the dashboard. The hybrid system shuts down, and in some cases, the car refuses to start at all. You would expect Toyota to step in and make it right. But here's the brutal truth. If your warranty has expired, you're on your own. Owners report bills of $4,000 to $7,000 for a repair that fixes a problem they never caused. Imagine walking into a dealership with a car you thought would save you money, only to be told the fix costs more than buying a used vehicle outright. For many families, that is a budget killer. Vacations get canceled, savings accounts drained, and in some cases, cars simply abandoned because the repair made no sense. This is not just an inconvenience. It's a betrayal of the promise Toyota built its empire on: reliability. But as bad as losing thousands hurts, some RAV4 owners are facing something far more terrifying: the risk that their car could catch fire right in their driveway. If this breakdown shocks you, subscribe to our channel right now and drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you trusted Toyota in the past, or has this scandal changed your view? Fire in the driveway. You never expect your family SUV to become a fire hazard, but that's exactly what happened with the Toyota RAV4. In one of the biggest recalls yet, nearly 2 million RAV4s were flagged for a shocking flaw. Their 12-volt batteries were not being held down properly. Sounds small, right? But when a battery slides around, it can short-circuit, spark, and ignite. Suddenly, the car you trusted becomes a fire risk sitting in your own garage. Imagine parking after a long day, walking inside, and hours later smelling smoke as flames pour from the very vehicle you counted on to keep your family safe. That isn't paranoia, it's a reality some RAV4 owners have already lived. Regulators forced Toyota to act only after enough dangerous cases surfaced to prove this was not a fluke. The company issued a recall, promised stronger clamps, and told drivers the fix was simple. But here's the thing: once trust is gone, no repair feels like enough. For families, it's not about bolts and brackets. It's about lying awake at night wondering if their reliable Toyota could torch their home. That's a level of fear no driver should carry. And yet Toyota owners are being forced to. And as terrifying as fire is, another hidden danger lurks inside the cabin itself. Airbags that might refuse to save you when you need them most. Airbags that lie. An airbag is supposed to be the one thing you can count on when everything else goes wrong. But for some RAV4 owners, that trust has been shattered. At the center of this scandal is the occupant classification system, the sensor that decides whether the passenger airbag should deploy in a crash. Sounds like a smart safety feature, right? Until it fails. Drivers are discovering that the system sometimes misclassifies adults as children, shutting the airbag off entirely. Other times, it does the opposite, firing when it shouldn't, turning a life-saving cushion into a violent strike. Imagine the horror of being in a collision, glancing to your right, and realizing the person you love most never got the protection you assumed was guaranteed. That isn't just a technical glitch. It's a betrayal of the most sacred promise in car design, keeping people alive. Toyota has issued recalls and promised fixes, but no patch can erase that moment of doubt. Once you've seen a safety system fail, you never look at the dashboard the same way again. The check engine light might annoy you, but the idea of a silent, broken airbag terrifies you. And when Toyota tried to explain these failures away, the backlash from owners didn't fade. It exploded, spilling into courtrooms and headlines around the world. From complaints to court. When customer service stalls, lawsuits rise. That's exactly what's happening with Toyota RAV4 owners who feel like they've been left to fend for themselves. You know how it goes. You call the dealer, you file a complaint, you wait for answers. But instead of getting help, you're bounced between phone calls, emails, and "we'll get back to you." Meanwhile, your car is still broken, your wallet is still bleeding, and your family is still at risk. That's when owners realized they couldn't fight this battle alone. Class actions began forming in Canada and the United States. Lawyers dug into the documents and discovered something devastating. Toyota had been warned about these failures for years. The high-voltage cable corrosion, the battery fire hazard, the unpredictable airbags. These weren't random hiccups. They were recurring defects. And Toyota's so-called customer support programs weren't saving everyone. They were designed with limits that cut thousands of drivers out. Imagine being told your repair would cost $7,000, only to find out another owner with the exact same problem got it fixed for free because their warranty happened to still apply. That's not fairness. That's corporate gambling with your money. The lawsuits are about more than money. They're about forcing Toyota to admit that their bulletproof reputation has been cracked. And when companies don't listen to customers, those customers drag them into court. And here's what really stings. Many owners didn't want lawsuits. They just wanted Toyota to listen, to fix their cars without a fight. But when emails went unanswered and service centers brushed them off, frustration hardened into anger. Courtrooms weren't their first choice. They were their last resort. But the courtroom wasn't the only battlefield. Owners still had to fight in the service bays. Repair shop hell. A recall means nothing if you can't get it fixed, and that's where thousands of Toyota owners found themselves trapped in endless battles with dealerships. Picture this: you finally get the recall letter, you rush to make an appointment, and then the service manager tells you the part isn't available. Maybe it'll be weeks, maybe months. In the meantime, keep driving your car and hope for the best. That is not reassurance, that's reckless. Families depend on these cars every single day for school runs, commutes, and cross-country drives. Yet they're being told to wait, while their vehicles carry known fire risks or faulty safety systems. And even when parts arrive, the nightmare doesn't end. Many owners describe showing up for repairs only to be met with shrugs, delays, and technicians who admit they've never seen this fix before. Confidence dies fast when the people supposed to repair your car look as lost as you feel. And what about communication? Dealerships left drivers in the dark, sometimes for weeks at a time. Messages went unanswered. Updates were vague. Customers were left wondering if their so-called fix was even done right. It wasn't just mechanical failure anymore. It was a collapse of trust. Toyota wanted recalls to look like solutions. Instead, they became proof of how broken the system really was. And as frustration grew, the data started pouring in to confirm the truth owners already suspected. Toyota was slipping fast. Some drivers said waiting for parts felt like waiting for a miracle. Weeks stretched into months, with rental cars racking up bills and families juggling life without their main ride. Every delay wasn't just inconvenient. It was a reminder that Toyota's once proud service machine had broken down completely, and the number that proved it stunned the entire industry. The average score. Toyota's reliability is now average. Just let that sink in. For decades, Toyota sat on top of the charts. Buying one meant buying peace of mind. You didn't even have to ask, because everyone knew Toyotas lasted forever. But in the latest rankings, the RAV4 didn't just slide a little. It crashed from 11th place to 30th. That's not a stumble, that's a collapse. J.D. Power's reliability score of 76 out of 100 sealed the blow. Average. Nothing special. Nothing worth paying extra for. Think about that. Families stretched their budgets to buy Toyotas because of their reputation. Now those same families are being told their expensive, reliable SUV is no better than dozens of cheaper options on the lot. The numbers cut deeper than statistics. They destroy loyalty. A survey drop isn't just a chart. It's years of trust evaporating. For Toyota, this is devastating because once consumers stop believing in your promise, every sale becomes a harder fight. And here's the worst part. These weren't anonymous rankings in some hidden report. They were blasted across headlines, social media feeds, and morning news shows. Millions saw Toyota's crown slip in real time. But the final shock came not from a survey or a study. It came from Toyota's own leaders, forced into a rare moment of public shame. For loyal Toyota fans, that single number felt like a slap in the face. They had bragged for years about owning the most dependable brand on the road. Now, the statistics told a different story. Toyota wasn't leading anymore. It was barely keeping pace with everyone else. And nothing rattled loyal fans more than seeing the boss himself bow before the cameras. The bow of shame. When the boss bows, the empire trembles. In Japanese culture, a deep bow from executives isn't routine. It's an admission of failure, and when Toyota's leadership stepped onto the stage to apologize for testing irregularities and quality failures, it sent shockwaves through the industry. Think about it. The largest automaker on the planet, the company known for bulletproof quality, forced to bow in front of the world and say, "We got it wrong." That image broke something in the minds of loyal customers. It wasn't just words. It was proof that the cracks were bigger than anyone admitted. The apology wasn't enough. In fact, it backfired. Owners didn't feel reassured. They felt confirmed in their anger. If Toyota was willing to bow, then the problems must be even worse than they'd imagined. The same people who had been called paranoid for complaining about corrosion, fire risk, or failing airbags now felt vindicated. And that's when the scandal stopped being a story about defects and became a story about identity. Toyota wasn't just another brand. It was supposed to be the gold standard, and seeing its leaders bow in shame made everyone realize the fall was real. Viewers around the world watched the bow on live TV, and reactions split instantly. Some saw humility, others saw desperation. For longtime Toyota buyers, it wasn't comforting, it was terrifying. If the company's own boss looked shaken, what did that say about the future of their cars? And just as Toyota struggled to save face, rivals began circling, ready to steal the crown. Resale collapse? Your car didn't change, but its value collapsed. That's the harsh reality for RAV4 owners trying to sell or trade in their vehicles after the scandals broke. Dealers once bragged about taking Toyotas because of their legendary resale power. Now, they're cutting offers by thousands of dollars if your VIN is tied to a recall. Imagine paying $35,000 for a new RAV4 just a few years ago, expecting it to hold its value, only to be offered barely $25,000 at trade-in. And that's if the dealer even wants it. Some dealerships flat out refuse certain years because they don't want the headache of explaining defects to buyers. Families who counted on Toyota's best-in-class resale are now left shocked and humiliated at the lot. This isn't just about money. It's about broken promises. Toyota built its brand on reliability, and resale value was the proof. You didn't just buy a car, you bought an investment. Now those investments are collapsing. And the people who lose aren't executives in boardrooms. They're regular families trying to stretch every dollar. But here's the twist. While Toyota owners are losing thousands, someone else is quietly making millions. And those someones are Toyota's rivals, who saw blood in the water and sharpened their knives. Rivals on the hunt? Subaru, Mazda, Honda, they didn't have to create new scandals. They just had to wait for Toyota to stumble. And when it did, they pounced. Subaru leaned into its rugged reliability pitch, bragging about eyesight safety tech that actually worked. Mazda reminded buyers of its premium interiors and a reliability score higher than Toyota's. Honda, always the practical rival, showcased the CR-V as the safer, smarter alternative. Sales teams across America and Canada whispered the same message. Why risk Toyota when you can trust us? And customers listened. Families who would never have left Toyota's orbit suddenly found themselves test driving Foresters, CX-5s, and CR-Vs. Incentives sweetened the deal. Low-interest financing, extended warranties, and generous trade-in values. The very money Toyota's owners were losing on resale was being weaponized by rivals to win new customers. This wasn't just competition, it was an ambush. For years, Toyota dominated the compact SUV space. Now, every misstep became an opening for rivals to carve away market share. And with every RAV4 scandal headline, another family walked into a competitor's showroom instead. But Toyota's fight wasn't only happening on dealership lots. Another, even tougher enemy had entered the ring, one with the power to cripple entire companies. And that enemy was Washington, where regulators never forget. Under the regulator's eye. Once the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration opens a file, it doesn't close quietly. Regulators saw the same complaints owners were shouting about: corroded cables, fire risks, airbag failures, and they demanded answers. Toyota couldn't simply swap a few parts and call it a day. Investigators wanted documentation, proof of fixes, and hard evidence that the company wasn't hiding more skeletons in the closet. For Toyota, this meant endless pressure. Engineers had to pause projects to provide test data. Compliance officers scrambled to answer government questions. Executives faced the possibility of fines if timelines weren't met. And worst of all, every new complaint logged by a driver became fuel for regulators to widen investigations. Owners felt vindicated. For years, they had been brushed off with normal wear and tear excuses. Now, government watchdogs were forcing Toyota to face the music. But this also dragged the scandal into the spotlight longer than Toyota ever wanted. Instead of fading away, the story stayed alive, headline after headline. And politicians smelled opportunity, because in election season, nothing plays better than standing up for the people against a corporate giant, which is why Toyota's recalls didn't just stay in regulators' hands. They turned into campaign weapons. Politics on the attack. Safety scandals make perfect campaign fodder. Politicians from both sides rushed to grab the microphone, pointing at Toyota as the perfect example of corporate negligence. In debates, they asked, if even Toyota can cut corners, who's really watching out for consumers? Some demanded harsher penalties for automakers who delay recalls. Others used Toyota's troubles to fuel bigger arguments about globalization, blaming overseas suppliers or corporate greed. No matter the angle, Toyota's name became shorthand for what happens when big companies forget about ordinary families. For loyal Toyota owners, this was devastating. It wasn't just about defects anymore, it was about identity. The car they drove to work or parked in their driveway was now a political talking point. It felt like their loyalty was being mocked in front of the entire country. Toyota tried to manage the damage with PR statements and reassurances, but once politicians turned the scandal into a campaign slogan, the narrative slipped out of Toyota's control. The brand that once symbolized trust and quality now symbolized corporate shame. And while lawmakers scored political points, the loudest anger wasn't in Congress at all. It was boiling inside Toyota's own factories. You've seen how deep this scandal runs. If you want the truth others won't tell you, subscribe right now. Join thousands of drivers demanding answers, because the next reveal could affect your safety, your money, and your future. Workers bleeding. When the brand bleeds, jobs get cut. Toyota's RAV4 scandal didn't just hit customers, it hit the people who build the cars. Inside factories in Japan, North America, and Europe, whispers started: shorter shifts, frozen bonuses, even the threat of temporary shutdowns. Workers who had spent years taking pride in Toyota's reputation suddenly felt that pride replaced with fear. Imagine showing up on the assembly line, knowing the car you're building might already be tied to recalls, lawsuits, and headlines. For many employees, the pride of "I build Toyotas" turned into embarrassment. Union leaders spoke out, saying workers were being punished for corporate decisions they never made. Meanwhile, some workers admitted they were worried about mortgage payments and feeding their families if production slowed further. Toyota's management promised stability, but the numbers told a different story. When sales fall, production slows. And when production slows, jobs are at risk. That's the brutal chain reaction every worker understands. For decades, Toyota's employees were told they were part of an unbreakable system, the most reliable automaker in the world. But now they're discovering that system wasn't invincible after all. And while workers braced for cuts, investors started running their own calculations. Wall Street's math. One defect is a cost. Two defects are a trend. And when Wall Street saw multiple defects stacked on top of each other, they saw risk everywhere. Analysts who once called Toyota a safe bet started warning investors to diversify. Stock values wobbled as recalls piled up, and questions about future profits grew louder. The math was brutal. Every recall meant millions in repair costs. Every lawsuit threatened payouts. Every resale collapse meant lost consumer trust. For shareholders, it added up to a shrinking margin and a shaky future. Suddenly, Toyota wasn't the dependable giant. It was a company in crisis. Executives tried to calm the market. They talked about new EV projects, streamlined production, and long-term stability. But investors aren't swayed by promises. They want proof. And Toyota's recent numbers only showed more expenses and more bad press. Some investors pulled back, others held their breath. and the rest demanded Toyota change its culture before things spiraled further. For families on Main Street, Wall Street's shifts felt far away, but in reality, every dip in stock price eventually trickles down to consumers. Higher costs, fewer incentives, less support, and that brought the crisis right back to your driveway. The bill in your driveway. Every warning light now carries a hidden bill. For RAV4 owners, the scandal isn't just about corporate shame. It's about personal costs stacking up fast. Insurance companies raise premiums when a car model gets linked to frequent claims. Dealers slash trade-in values, even for cars that have already been repaired. Families who thought they owned one of the safest investments on the market suddenly find themselves underwater. It doesn't stop there. Some drivers discovered their VIN wasn't eligible for coverage, leaving them with repair bills in the thousands. Others saw their resale offers plummet simply because buyers didn't want to gamble on a Toyota. The financial punch is brutal. The RAV4 that was supposed to be reliable has become a liability. So what can owners do? Check your VIN. Stay on top of recalls. Demand written proof of every fix. And when it comes to resale, be prepared to negotiate hard or hold on to your car longer than planned. These aren't just tips, they're survival strategies in a market where Toyota's failures have become your burden. And here's the bigger truth. No amount of VIN checks or warranty claims can fix what's really broken at Toyota. Because if the company wants to survive, it must do something far bigger than replace parts. It must change its culture. Culture reset. A recall fixes a part. A culture shift saves a brand. And that's the only path forward for Toyota now. For years, the company operated like it was untouchable. Problems were minimized, complaints were brushed off, and the myth of perfect reliability carried sales. But the RAV4 scandal tore that myth apart. If Toyota wants to earn back trust, it needs more than new bolts and updated cables. It needs transparency, real communication with owners. It needs accountability, dealers empowered to solve problems without endless red tape. It needs independent testing and outside verification, so drivers know safety isn't just a marketing slogan. This won't be easy. Changing culture means confronting habits baked in over decades. It means moving faster on recalls, admitting flaws openly, and treating customers like partners, not problems. But without it, Toyota risks losing not just the RAV4's reputation, but its entire identity as the reliable brand. And here's the bottom line. This scandal isn't just about cars. It's about whether the largest automaker in the world still deserves your trust. Because when you put your family inside a vehicle, you're not buying horsepower or touchscreen size. You're buying safety, honesty, and peace of mind. And right now, Toyota has to prove it deserves a place in your driveway again. You've just seen how one of the world's most trusted brands let cracks turn into a crisis. From hidden defects to falling resale values, it isn't just Toyota's reputation on the line. It's your safety, your money, your family. This scandal proves no company is too big to fail, and no driver is immune to the fallout. But knowledge is power. By staying informed, you protect yourself and hold corporations accountable. Don't stop here. Subscribe, stay sharp, and join a community that refuses to be left in the dark again.